right, Sam. What's your view on teen dating?
I think it's a good idea if you get to know the person first, just like through friends for a while. And then if you think you click with them and want to hang out more, then I think it's a great idea.
Are we good?
Yeah.
What are my views on teen dating? I think the teen dating is typically not appropriate, but I think that if the two of you are mature enough, which that's a very ambiguous line, but I think that there are some couples that have a level of maturity that they can handle themselves, and I think most of the time it's a bad idea.
I think teen dating is a lot like driving a car. Whenever you turn 16, or in this evidence, at a certain point in time, you're allowed to do it. Whatever authorities that be, in the case of driving a car, the government and the state, in the case of teen dating, maybe your own personal situation, or maybe your parents' permission, at some point in time, you'll be able to do it. At a certain age, people can drive a car. That doesn't mean everyone should. I think a lot of people drive cars before they're fully capable of doing so, before they have all the skills developed that would make them a good driver. And a lot of times we see that resulting in people getting car wrecks, which bears with it great financial penalties, legal penalties, and even sometimes great health penalties. It's the same way in dating, I think. A lot of people date before they might be ready to date, and that carries with it a lot of emotional harm, a lot of relational harm, a lot of social harm, and of course financial harm if you're going out spending a ton of money on dating and maybe should have thought it through. So I think, so just dating in general or teen dating, Timmy?
I think teen dating specifically, like in like high school dating.
I think high school dating, I don't think it's for everyone. And I don't even think it's for most people, because I think what you see is, what is it? I think 1 out of 9 married couples is high school sweethearts. So that means, judging by the number of high school relationships, most of them aren't going to work out. And I think that's okay. It's not something to be pessimistic about and say, I'm just not going to do any sort of relationship because there's like a 8 out of 9 chance that it's going to fail. It's not necessarily the way to face it. But I think a lot of people are overly idealistic, overly optimistic, and at certain times in blatant ignorance of what the reality is. And I think it's something that can certainly be useful. I think you can learn a lot about relationship through dating. You can learn a lot about another person through dating, which is the ultimate goal of dating, especially dating with the intention of marriage, not necessarily saying that you're going to get married if you're dating a person, but rather having the mindset of dating for marriage, in acknowledgement that not all dating leads directly to marriage, but rather most dating leads to a relationship ending in not marriage. But I think there are certainly benefits of getting to know people. I think you can learn a lot about yourself through engaging in a relationship, specifically any sort of extended relationship with one person. And you can learn, okay, this is kind of how I feel, and observe, like, why do I feel this way? I think it's a way that you learn a lot about yourself, but at the same time, it comes with a lot of risks. If you big goof, if you mess up big time, there can be heavy consequences, be that if you go too far and have to deal with those consequences, or even more innocently, if you break someone's heart, if your own heart gets broken by not protecting their heart well, or not protecting your own heart. A lot of times you can see friend groups that are really tight, and then I've seen it like at my church. There was a group where a bunch of people were really tight and hung out a lot together, and like everyone dated, and then everyone broke up and it didn't go well, and friend groups were broken apart. I think you can end friendships and even people that you weren't dating by hurting someone who you were dating. You can hurt them and really hurt yourself in that way. So I think it's something that needs to be weighed very carefully before anyone begins in such a relationship.
All right.
So, my view on teen dating.
Obviously, we're dating.
Obviously, we're dating, but I think teen dating, it requires definitely a certain level of maturity. I don't think that you can just hop into a relationship and just go with it for whatever. You got to know why you're dating too. Dating ultimately, I think, is if we're believers, you're looking for somebody. Hey, can I end up with this person at some point down the road? Can I marry this person? And yeah, you're in high school, but I know plenty of people that have gone on to, my parents included, did that. So I think you have to go into it really knowing what you want out of the relationship and not going into it. You have to be willing even to just learn to sacrifice too. Your studies, other things are much more important, and so that's something I've had to learn too. Yeah, she would say. But that's a part of relationships. You sacrifice, you learn to work with another person. You learn to open up about what's going on in your life. You're there for each other when things are going hard. So I think really, unless you're really walking with the Lord, your identity has to come from God. It can't come from a girl. It can't come from anybody else, your friends, nothing. It has to come from Christ first. And ultimately, you have to know that and be secure in that before you even start pursuing any type of romantic relationship with anyone. So, you want to hop on the train?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't really used to think that way before. I've dated some people. But, I feel like... I feel like you definitely have to care about the person more, like be a friend with them before you jump into it. I know that, like, I guess my old way of like dating was like someone liked you and then you heard about it and you're like, we're dating now. Everything just happened after that.
The good thing about me, when me and Michaela started dating, we were friends for 2 years before. We really started becoming friends like the year before we started dating.
Yeah.
And we would sit out here at these park benches out here. We would talk after school every day, and we really just enjoyed being together and being friends before we really found any interest in each other. So I think the most healthy thing to do is find a friendship first before you, because ultimately dating is a friendship. When you marry somebody, that person should ultimately become your best friend.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested in you when we first met.
Well, I wasn't either, so it makes the two. So you know what I'm saying? So there you go. But so ultimately, you're a friend, and out of that then becomes, and that's where the healthiness is, because then you find that person attractive because of who they are, not just because of the way they look or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever else. So.
Definitely. Any other questions?
I think teen dating needs to be used wisely. Like, there's good teen dating, there's bad teen dating. On one hand, it's like, oh, like, eventually, like, you're gonna, like, if you're looking to marry someone, if that's what God has in your future, like, teen dating could help you learn how to date. There's certain things that you don't know how to do until you date, like, just with, like, going on your first date. Like, it can be nerve-wracking, so, like, going on dates can help you figure out how to do that later or even then. So, like, there's good things about it. You can also learn more about yourself that way. But also with teen dating, like, we're not fully ourselves yet. I don't know everything about myself. Like, there's good things about it and bad things about it. So there's good parts and bad parts about teen dating. Like, some of the good parts can be, like, if you're hoping to marry in your future, like, you learn more about just, like, how to date and how all dating works and everything, and you can learn more about yourself and wonderful people through dating. And just, like, there's different types of teen dating, and some can be really bad for you, some is really good for you, and you can just grow a lot during that process, whether it's, like, within, like, learning how relationships work, or also just, like, learning more about yourself and other people. But then there's also bad parts about teen dating. A lot of teen dating leads to heartbreak, and so that's probably the biggest con, is that, like, we're so young, so that we don't always make the best choices. We date someone that, like, seems really good for us, and it might not always be, or just, like, there's a lot of changes that happen, and eventually, like, a lot of times people that date as teenagers don't end up together later. So teen dating can be good in that aspect, but also, like, that, like, the aspect of, like, you learn more about yourself, more about other people, and just kind of how the world works. But also, like, at the same time, like, we're still growing and learning who we are all the time, and sometimes that kind of commitment isn't necessarily what's best for us in that certain point of time.
Okay, if people are mature enough and know how to communicate well, and they know how to treat people well, I think they are able to give teen dating a try. But if they're very immature and lack sympathy or something, they should not do teen dating because they will cause more drama and more problems.
Dating can be good because it allows teenagers to figure out kind of what they want in a boyfriend or girlfriend and figure out what they don't want in a boyfriend and girlfriend. And I think it just allows you or people to grow with each other. I don't know. I support teen dating.
I think that it depends on how you go about it, especially it's like a two-way thing, not just like if you're gonna go into a relationship just doing it to have fun or to show that you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I think that's wrong, and I think you need to be more committed, not necessarily to get married in the end, but like to serve the person that you're in a relationship with and to love them well, or to, you know, I don't know, just to treat them and give them all the care you have, because when you're in a relationship, it's not about you, it's about the other person. So I think relationships and teen dating, if you go about it the right way, not necessarily that we've done it perfectly, but it's what was right for us, and I think it brought me my best friend. And I think people should be open to it, but only about going about it the right way. What about you, John?
Pretty much the same things you said. I think it definitely just depends on the person and the attitude. Like you were saying, I feel like there's a lot of people that just do it just to have fun. Or, I mean, it really depends if you're mature enough spiritually and just mentally. I think there's a lot of people that aren't really willing to put in the commitment and communication and time and effort that it takes. So if you're going about it from a perspective of, you know, this will just be somebody I hang out with on the weekends or whatever, or, you know, like bros before hoes or whatever they say. Just like the whole mindset that, like, yes, you have to have good time management skills and not, you know, put all your time towards them or all your time towards your friends or, you know, spend time with God or whatever. But I think it obviously comes with time and experience. You're not just going to be able to have everything work out perfectly right away. But I feel like for some teens, yes. Like I personally wasn't allowed to date till I was 16, which was just my parents' rule. Which I think is a good age, just because, you know, that's when you really start to